Hello everyone, welcome. This is Pastor Roland, checking in to see how you're doing. Hope you're doing well. Some of you are not doing so well. You have issues. You have issues, and you're looking for answers and solutions. Okay? Well, you've come to the right place. Okay, if you're looking for spiritual answers, not because I'm a wonderful person, but because you're looking in the right direction. Okay? As we go through life, a lot of people claim to have answers. They claim to have answers, and sometimes they're very, very clever. They have on the right uniform. They have on. They have the degrees and diplomas on the wall, and an office, and receptionists and assistants, and they're very clever. Or they have a pompous title, or they're at an institution of higher learning with a big title, and they talk to large gatherings of students. Okay, some people go on the radio or on the television. They have a big audience or a small audience, but they have an audience. Okay, and they all claim to have answers. See, they claim to have answers. All the pundits, the writers, the authors, the priestcraft, the bureaucrats, the pharmacists, the medical establishment, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, the professors, see, the experts, the gurus. See, they all claim to have answers. In fact, if you talk to the average person, if you just talk to somebody, and you bring up any subject, you bring up organic food or anything, and they'll say, oh yes, and they're also knowledgeable. They're so knowledgeable about vitamins and about saw palmetto and minerals and zinc, and you listen. If you listen to them talk, it's like they claim they seem to know everything, and they seem so clever, and yet their life is a mess. Okay. So one by one, the great institutions fall. Quote unquote great institutions fall. The great systems fall. See, the people who claim to have answers, all of a sudden you discover that they don't have answers. And the world is in increasing turmoil. So the answer, of course, you know what it is. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you're just searching. The real answer is real. It's the truth. Okay? And ultimately, the truth, whatever the truth is, leads you to your Creator, in whose image and likeness you are created. Okay? Now, all of these, see, you look around at nature, it's kind of dead. I mean, nature is pretty. You know, the roses are pretty, and the puppy dogs are clever, and the sky is blue, and the water is refreshed. You know what I mean? But it's all nice. But ultimately, it comes down to things like love, kindness, see, and things like patience, forbearance, long-suffering, mercy, see, peace, and then of course things like peace of mind. And see, and what is it that sets us on the wrong course, where we start to go astray in our life? Isn't it things like meanness, cruelty, lying, deceitfulness, phoniness, see, things like that. So you see, it takes on these take on human values. See, not to mention justice, of course, is good. Injustice, but who makes the injustice? It's people who do not love the truth and do not love what is right. So ultimately, if you think about it, you'll see that it's all about people and it's all about love. See, and so it stands to reason. You look around at nature; it's just, one spider eats another spider, and the wolf eats the rabbit, and cows eat the leaves, and the rain comes and the seasons roll on. It's very pretty and it's very nice, but it's dead. Okay. So, but what's really important is like people, relationships, love, kindness, forgiveness, all these wonderful things. You see? Well, okay. So, if you look at it carefully, you'll see that somebody created these things: love, kindness, and it was God. And so you know that He's kind of like, well, I don't want to say He's a person, but He's like a father. Created all these wonderful things. And then people are naughty and they rebel. See, and they don't want to acknowledge anyone higher. See, they're prideful. So basically, the thing that seems to be, if it's not meanness and cruelty and lies and deceitfulness and lack of love and understanding, if those are the things that set us astray because we react to them. See, we react with resentment. See, we resent our parents. See, our parents, a little child. See, God. See, Father stands in for God in the eyes of a little child. And when Father fails, it's as if God had failed. So the mistake we make is we resent our earthly father. Okay. So what you have to see now is that you must forgive your earthly father. In other words, let go of your resentment against him. Let go of your grudge against him. The older you get, see, now that you're an adult, now that you're messing up, now that maybe communication with your kids is not so good, or your kids are going astray, or you're divorcing or something, now you can see, okay, that maybe he wasn't being deliberately cruel, maybe he wasn't deliberately ignoring you, and so on and so forth. Maybe he just, the world was too much for him. He was doing the best he could. See, he never found the answer either. He never found the rapport with his Creator, a real rapport. Sure, some people, study the Bible and claim to have it, but do they really have it? If they had it, then they would have understanding. They would have an otherworldly quality of agape love that would temper everything they do. See, and if he didn't have that, then something was still missing. So don't hate him. He didn't find it either. Inside he was suffering. Inside he was tormented. Okay, so forgive your father and forgive your mother, your poor unloved mother. See, forgive her. Forgive everybody. Then, when you let go of your resentments, see, when you let go of your resentments and your grudges, then your heart will be open to receive love and light in real time. See, that's the other thing I want to mention. It's nice to read about other people and what they have to say and what they did, and even if they were nice people, or even if they were great people, they still had feet of clay. But see, you mustn't put other people on a pedestal. And even if they were great, even if they found the answer, see, it doesn't do you any good that they found it 10 years ago or 500 years ago. You need to find it yourself. There's an old song, it was like, you've got to walk this lonesome valley. You got to walk it by yourself. No one else can walk it for you. You got to walk it by yourself. Okay, well, you got to find God too, or let Him find you. Let Him touch your life. See, let His light enter your life, and His love and His warmth. And it's not now because you're blocking. See, and forgiveness is there also. Forgiveness is there, waiting. See, the price has already been paid. It's all you have to do is accept it. But two things. Number one, what stands in the way, number one, is your resentments of other people. Resentment stands in the way of finding God's love. God said you can't hate your brother who you can't see and love your Heavenly Father who you cannot see. And he also said if you don't forgive your other people, if you don't forgive your brother, then your Heavenly Father won't forgive you. Okay? And then pride, not wanting to admit you're wrong. See? We have a stubborn pride. Have you known anyone who didn't who never wanted to admit he or she was wrong, who always had to be right? See, a lot of people are that way. Well, that stands in the way of finding God in the present. If you're prideful, pride stands in the way. And of course, the guy with the horns, the guy with the horns knows that. So he will talk to you in your mind or through other people. He will always encourage you to be ambitious and to be angry and to storm and off and to try to prove something and to try to rise above other people. And see, he'll always try to encourage that sort of thing. And he even will talk to you in your mind. Tell you that God hates you and what's the use. That sort of thing. What he doesn't want is the guy with the horns. He doesn't want you to soften your pride and be willing to admit you are wrong when you resent other people, or you resented your mom or dad, or you're impatient with your kids, or you resent other people. To admit you're wrong and be sorry. Shame and be ashamed you're wrong. It's a sweet thing. Not in front of other people, in front of your Father, within, in the privacy of your room. And that's why I have the meditation I talk about all the time, because it helps you. Now what the problem is, now you're too lost in your thinking. Images and intellect. And that blocks you from realizing in the light. So if you would just stop your efforts to try to save yourself. That's the other thing that blocks you, trying to save yourself. The expression to let go and let God, that's actually a very good expression. To cease from your struggle and just soften your heart. And should you see that you're wrong, be willing to admit it. To your Heavenly Father in private. So see how simple that is? What could be simpler? It's so simple. Then, you would experience the touch of God if you ever softened your heart. I'll tell you a story. I've told this so many times, but it's a very good story because it's because you can understand. And there was a man was driving in his car, and a lady went in front of him in her car. Maybe cut in front of him. I don't think she did on purpose, but she got in front of him. And he was very angry. He was a young guy. He was very, very, very angry all the time. And so he was full of rage that she cut in front of him. This is a true story. So he zoomed forward and got up next to her in the lane beside her and looked out his window and started yelling at her, yelling at the lady, mean things. And he had a very mean expression on his face. And then all of a sudden he looked, and there was a little girl sitting in the passenger seat next to her mom. And she started crying. She looked at him, she saw at the mean face, and she started crying. She burst into tears. And when the man saw that, he was stricken. He pulled over parked his car, and sat there and sobbed. Great big heaving sobs. because he saw that he was wrong. The sweetness of the little girl bursting into tears awoke him to see his own wrong. Okay? And that was a turning point, one of the turning points in his life, where he began to soften and then see, admit he was wrong about a lot of other things. He resented his mom and a lot of other things. But that was the beginning of a change for the better. And God entered his, see, God's light is always there, God's light. In his light, you see the truth about things, wordlessly. You just wordlessly see the truth about things, see. And in God's light, he saw just how wrong he was. Okay? So that was a big turning point in his life. Okay? Another lady I'll never forget, a very nice lady. She was so resentful toward her husband because there was something missing. Okay? He was a decent guy, but somehow communication, something was missing. And she really, really, really had a big resentment toward him and judgment toward him. But he was basically a decent guy, but there was just something so missing. And then one time I told her, I said, it was love, actually, agape love. I said, he can't give what he doesn't have. He hasn't found it himself. He hasn't found love himself. And so he can't give what he doesn't have. See? And that was a big realization for her. That was an aha moment. She realized that, he didn't have it. He hadn't found his Creator either. He hadn't found agape love. And so she was able to forgive him, let go of her resentment toward him and her grudge toward him. There was a big turning point in her life. After that, her life was turned for the better. See? All right. So get the meditation so you can get out of your thinking, negative thinking, which always lies to you, and come back to the present moment. So you won't find God down in thinking or thought. Those are all substitutes, escapes. See? Compensations. Thinking, that kind of thinking is a compensation. Your emotions, they rise up to support your ego and your pride. See what I mean? So those things, stand back from them. Stand back. Mentally stand back. The meditation will help you to do that. My name is Pastor Roland.